What's up, guys? Coming at you from Shenzhen as usual for a little bit of a very random, sudden update, which is perhaps a little bit more of an emergency update of sorts. And this is going to be about an issue that's happening in Guangzhou right now, where African residents or black residents even in general, because I've heard from some black Belgian nationals who are being targeted in Guangzhou also, are finding themselves in a really difficult situation there. I've been receiving video after video and updates of black residents who aren't allowed into McDonald's, aren't allowed into certain sporting facilities, or even their own gardens, in their own building complexes. You know, one of the most sad ones I saw was of a female who had her electricity cut and was given an hour to move out. Actually, let me just show you guys that video here.
So our landlord gave us an hour quick notice. Can you imagine? Only in China that the landlord would just come, switch off your light, and give you an hour quick notice to leave. When you have legal signed documents with him, you have contracts of a 6-month rent. You're paid upfront with the taxation and everything. And then the landlord will just come to your door and knock and tell you he's coming up in 10 minutes, that he's giving you an hour to pack out. With the whole situation out there. Right? Even are we animals?
So yeah, I mean, that's only just one small example of what's going on, and I've got to call this out. I mean, this is just, I don't know what year this is. This is unbelievable that this is happening. You know, I've called out racism before towards Chinese nationals overseas, and there were a lot of people who were really appreciative of that. And I recognize that I have a lot of Chinese followers. And so that's perhaps why this video is even more important, because now is the time for you to stand up for somebody else. And if you remember my update, my podcast, for those of you who saw it, about the naming of COVID-19 as the Chinese virus, one of the takeaways that I said in that video was that what we can learn about this, what we can learn from this is how to be more empathetic. You know, there are other ethnic groups who are targeted throughout history, you know, whether it be, like I said, brown people living in North America after 9/11, and you can come out of it more empathetic towards people who are targeted, towards people who feel like they are being completely turned into, kind of just looked at as not even human, subhuman. And this is that time. I didn't realize it would happen so quickly, but this is that time. So to any of my followers, if you know people in the Guangzhou government, or you just want to get on social media in China and call this out and say this is absolutely unacceptable, this is the time. You know, there are groups of them, these foreigners, who are living outside on the streets right now. There are other groups who are coming out and donating blankets, food, water, and there are Chinese in that group too. So don't take this video as me kind of virtue signaling and saying you should do this. Most of you already know that you shouldn't do this, but what I'm doing is bringing it to your attention because some of you might not know that this is going on. But for those of you who do, I'm confident that the type of follower that I have here will already be calling this out and already be saying this is unacceptable. And some of those Chinese people are showing up with those foreigner groups to donate and to show support and say, what is going on? This is unacceptable. But, you know, there was also some police groups that showed up, and I think they know that this is unacceptable, but they kind of had a half-assed solution. They told them, they said, go back to the hotels and tell them they're not allowed to do this. Go back and tell them that they need to accept you, or whoever kicked you out. They should be going together with them and confronting these hotels and saying, this is absolutely against the law, this is unacceptable, and they should be helping them. You know, I sent those videos and stories and screenshots to some officials here in Shenzhen who work with the foreign affairs departments, and they were shocked also. They couldn't believe this was going on, and they're reaching out to their contacts. But, you know, it's events like this that remind us that this is a issue with, this is a global issue where you get people, certain people who are, you know, bigoted or misguided or just outright just evil. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world. And these people like this need to be called out. You know, if some of you saw my video with Cordell, the PhD student who's studying in Chongqing, I mentioned that there were a couple of cities that weren't as welcoming as Chongqing. And I said that I didn't want to call out those cities because, not only because it's not good to target certain cities, but because there's multiple layers to the reasoning behind why certain things happen. And with Guangzhou is one of these cities that is very proud of its culture. And sometimes with the more kind of aggressive people, it manifests itself in a paiwai, a little bit of a unfriendliness to outsiders. And this isn't exclusive to foreigners. This is also to non-Cantonese speaking Chinese. They speak Cantonese in Guangzhou. And you get stories of some Mandarin people who are there trying to navigate the system, and the locals are responding to them in Cantonese, even though they know that they can't speak Cantonese. They can only speak Mandarin. So now you're seeing that those people who had the tendency to do that to begin with, really crossing the line now. I mean, kicking people out onto the street and doing this kind of stuff is completely unacceptable. So again, to my followers, there's a lot of you, again, who are Chinese. I'm sure if you already know about this story, you're already calling this out. But my hope is that with this, I can bring it to the attention of more people who can put pressure on people in Guangzhou or officials or whoever you have contact with or whatever you think you could do to say, fix this. This is absolutely unacceptable. It was just, I wouldn't say it was just a little while ago. Chinese are still being targeted overseas, and something like this could end up acting as an event to make it even worse for Chinese overseas, where perhaps in Africa or in other places, people will start retaliating against innocent Chinese who have nothing to do with this event. And it doesn't make sense to do that, but this is the unfortunate way that some other people also think, in a tit-for-tat kind of way. And even if there isn't the risk for that, even if there isn't the risk of that, everybody should be calling this out. So that's all I want to say. I'm just so disappointed by this, and I'm really hoping that this is resolved soon. I'm sure there's going to be more news and more information coming out about how this happened, why this is happening, what's being done about it. But I really hope that people start paying a little bit more attention to this in a constructive way, where we can end this and we can fix this. Because I just feel absolutely terrible for the people who feel targeted right now in Guangzhou. And all of you should be too, particularly if you empathized with my points about how Chinese overseas shouldn't have been targeted during this COVID-19 situation. I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. I'll be back with my regular updates from here. Hopefully I'll have better news to share on this situation soon. So take care, guys, and I'll catch you next time.